Tonight on News 5 Live, Commissioner of Police heads west. He meets with the leaders of the bordering communities to get a handle on the theft of vehicles by Guatemalan bandits. There is a horrible fatal road traffic accident in Trinidad Village. A motorist is killed and a farmer badly injured. The Ministry of Education says the BNTU has no lease or title to a parcel of land in Corozal, now designated for preschool. An officer seen on video brutalizing a Belize City resident is interdicted from the force. And the Ministry of National Security addresses the issue of salary adjustments for BDF soldiers amid hiccups in regularizing their wages. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Belize Bank's Christmas
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Thursday, December 12th. I am Marlene Cuellar. A surge in the theft of vehicles, mostly SUVs, in the communities along the western border has put the police and residents on high alert. In the past few days, there have been at least 5 consecutive incidents. The MO is that Guatemalan bandits come into the country, steal the vehicles, and drive them across the border into Guatemala through the Arenal Road. Often they prey on unsuspecting vehicle owners before pouncing on them. So today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams led the department to Benque Viejo and Arenal, where residents are vulnerable and want to take matters into their hands. The police outlined a strategy to take a grip of the situation. Here's News 5's Hipólito Novello.
Guatemalan bandits have been targeting Belizean car owners, holding them at gunpoint and making away in their cars across the border through the Arenal Road. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams wants to put a halt to the string of crimes, and today, he along with his senior command visited the affected areas. In the past 2 weeks, there have been 5 reported cases of vehicle thefts, 2 in San Jose Socots and 3 on the Arenal Road.
The first 2 incidents, 2 masked men with shotguns, and the other 3 incidents were 3 Hispanic male persons with short arms.
Is it believed that these men are linked to each other?
We do believe so. The information we received that they would come into our neighborhood, take photograph of the vehicle, the target that they want, and then they would just react. We have information that it's 2 Guatemalan and a Belizean. So we have the information as to who the culprits are. It's just a matter to get the evidence and to get them.
Would you describe it as a ring of car thieves operating here in the West?
I would say from Guatemala side, because the information that we receive is that these culprits take the vehicles over to the Guatemala side to a chop shop, right? So there's a ring over that side.
The armed masked Guatemalan bandits would illegally make their way to this side of the border, sneak to San Jose Socots and Benque through the Arenal Road and study their victims. Once they are sure of the right chance to strike, they pounce with precision. They are being assisted by a Belizean and a network of roads they use to cross the vehicle into Guatemala.
In the Arenal area, those areas that were easily accessible to the bandits who comes over have now been blocked with fallen trees, and we intend to, by the end of the day today, dig some trenches across those roads to prevent the bandits from coming over so easily through with the use of vehicles. And the same you can see in the Socots area, the road that link Socots to the Benque area, that too has been cut off because that was a back road used by the bandits. When they take the vehicles, they go from Socots into Benque and then through the Arenal Road.
Chairman of Arenal Village, Lucio Sanchez, says that residents will see vehicles zooming in and out of the village into Guatemala.
These vehicles, they are passing through here. Where the people there, they see them, but you never know what is going on until the patrol coming behind and say, well, they just scare a vehicle. I'm sure it's about 3 miles from here, So in Arenal, Guatemala, there's no police officers. So once the robbers go in Guatemala, they are free.
One of the vehicles has been spotted on that side of the border. Benque Viejo Mayor Marconi Sosa says he's grateful that the Belize Police Department is stepping up and taking their concerns serious.
I do think that the matter has gone to its extreme now, where the point of the Commissioner of Police coming into this point here at the Guatemalan border is significant, and it shows that there is interest in the police to actually arrest the situation as best possible. One of the things that I do have in mind is that if the Commissioner would not have been here, and knowing that the news is international, then Guatemalans would be listening to the news and they would feel like we're not acting in any way. And his presence here is very instrumental and very, very fruitful for the people around the area. It is going to take more. It is going to take more police action. It is going to take more soldier action here at the border to kind of like arrest the situation.
The department is working closely with their counterpart in Guatemala, carrying out simultaneous operations along the border. And for the Guatemalan bandits, Williams has one message to send.
We have to send a message to them, a very strong one, that we as a country, we're not going to allow them to disrupt our tranquil heaven of democracy, as our national anthem rightly said. And all despots must flee. And so at the end of the day, we want them to know that if it is they come back, we will be prepared for them. And whether or not they will cross the border will be another issue.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Forming part of today's tour was Operations Commander Senior Superintendent Marco Vidal. Vidal spoke to the leaders of representatives of the communities to get a better feel of things and what sort of crime-fighting strategy would be best rolled out. He says the strategy is comprised of 3 factors: intelligence gathering, patrol, and community involvement.
We have been coordinating pretty much from its inception with the National Police of Guatemala. We intend to go even further than that, to go to the Ministry of Ministerio de Seguridad Pública, which will be the head office in Petén, to get other more investigative officers involved from their end, to do certain things that we want to get done from their side in terms of recovery of the vehicle, etc. We know that one of the vehicles have been sighted in that area. We know that the trend shows everything going to the Arenal area. So our strategy then moves into the operational aspect, which is our patrol strategy. And what we'll be doing for the community, the commissioner has already indicated that there'll be additional support to Sokots village in terms of the personnel. They will be responsible also for the patrol of the immediate environs of Sokots village. Our efforts have been bolstered with the BDF now, so we are looking at the BDF extending this operation along with the police to cover the outskirts of Sokots, because we do have other areas that need to be covered. We visited an area just now which you all witnessed, and so that's one of the areas we'll be looking at, in addition to extending the operation further.
A horrible traffic accident early this morning claimed 1 life on a main thoroughfare. It happened in the village of Trinidad up north, where a 25-year-old resident on a motorcycle collided into a tractor pulling a trailer. On impact, the cycle burst into flames and Leonardo Velasquez was burnt to death. It is believed that the fogginess of the morning obscured the view of the driver of the tractor. Dalila Ikal has the following report.
The deadly collision happened just outside Trinidad village. It was just past 5 o'clock in the morning. 25-year-old Leonardo Velasquez, a resident of San Felipe village, was headed towards Orange Walk town on a motorcycle. At the same time, Feliciano Castaneda was driving a tractor heading to his cane fields located in the outskirts of Trinidad village. He was pulling a trailer carrying drums of water and 3 other persons. One of them was his son, Ronald Castaneda, who says they did not even see the motorist coming from the opposite direction as thick fog covered the area.
We even carried headlights so that they can see that we were there with the tractor. Well, we didn't see the motorcycle. Nothing was visible. And when my father made a turn, I just heard the explosion. We were coming well, and we were going to turn, but the fog was thick. We could barely see anything, and the truth is that the lights of the motorcycle were not visible. When my father decided to make the turn, we just heard the impact. We didn't even hear the motorcycle. I just felt the impact and saw the fire when the cycle exploded. That happened immediately. It exploded upon impact.
Velasquez collided into the center of the tractor as the elderly Castaneda made a left turn into the sugarcane road. The impact flung him onto the metal fender, which cracked his helmet, causing severe head injuries. Velasquez would then fall under the tractor, near his motorcycle. When it exploded, Velasquez's body caught fire.
What we did was to extinguish the fire on the young man, because he was burning up along with the motorcycle. We had brought a lot of water. We had 4 drums of water and we emptied 3 drums on him. We could not extinguish the fire, so what we did was to drag the motorcycle to the other side of the road so that we could extinguish the fire on the young man.
Velasquez did not survive the collision. Feliciano Castaneda, who drove the tractor, did, but not without injury.
The impact threw my father from the tractor. He broke his leg and is in the hospital.
Castaneda says his father's leg was broken in several areas but is stable. The Castaneda's tractor was badly damaged by the collision and the subsequent explosion. Dalila Ikal for News 5.
Police are investigating the deadly collision. While the details were scant, Senior Superintendent Alberto Romero told the media that an investigation into the accident will determine if charges will be brought against the driver of the tractor that Velasquez crashed into.
On Thursday, the 12th day of December 2019, around 5:30 a.m., there was a fatal road traffic accident on the Trinidad Agnes Pine Road in Orange Walk. Investigation revealed that Leonardo Velasquez, 25 years, was riding his motorcycle on the road when he collided into a trailer that was attached to a tractor. He fell off the motorcycle and received severe head and body injuries and was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Investigation is being conducted into this matter to determine if anyone is at fault or if any charges will be levied on anyone.
So is there any indications as to factors that could have caused this accident?
The investigation is ongoing. At some point he was coming from the opposite direction and collided into the trailer. That is the information we have.
He did in front of the trailer?
That is correct.
A salary adjustment for members of the Belize Defense Force has been long in the making, bringing up to par the wages of all three arms of the national security apparatus. As it stands, wages for non-commissioned officers are not on the average level of their counterparts in the Belize Police Department and the Belize Coast Guard. Despite an attempt to regularize their salaries, the Ministry of National Security has been facing a few challenges getting it done. While the effective date for the adjustment was initially set for June 2019, the process has been delayed for the past 6 months as government seeks to resolve the issues. This afternoon, Chief Executive Officer Felix Enriquez explained the need for the salary adjustment and the problems they are facing.
For some time now, the security forces have had this, and the Belize Defense Force in particular has had this difference in salary. Although we deem them to be in par in terms of the work they do, their work is just as important as the other two security forces and the Ministry of National Security. And so the exercise really is to bring the Belize Defense Force up to par with the Belize Coast Guard and the Belize Police Force to as best as we can and also as much as we could afford. There have been some setbacks, and we have to take fault for the setbacks in that because there was some eagerness to get it done. It seems that when it got to the Treasury dispersal, they noticed some anomalies that they want to get fixed. No, it's not to say that they will not get the salary adjustment, and I have to be clear that it's not a pay increase. We're not calling it a pay increase. We're calling it a salary adjustment to ensure that the security forces are in par. It means an increase in every case for the enlisted men of the Belize Defense Force. But what we're asking them to do is be patient. I met with the people from the Treasury and the Ministry of Finance this morning, and of course their concern will always be that we don't overextend ourselves. And so we decided that we will take pause at this, get it right, and then release the salary. But the effective date for the adjustment was as of June of 2019, and when we release it to them, they will get their payment that is due to them.
While some officers benefited from the initial payout resulting from the salary adjustment, many of them were overpaid, and government is now seeking to recover the extras.
I understand, however, that there are some officers who had received some monies in line with this particular adjustment, and that they are being asked to either refund the money, or where is the discrepancy there?
Yeah, because and there were discrepancies in terms of some people, based on the Treasurer's analysis, some people got more than they should have gotten in the interpretation of the adjustment or the directive that was sent down from the Ministry of Finance. And so where that is concerned, those will indeed have to be recovered. How that recovery takes place, we're not doing it to them immediately. It will be explained to them how that adjustment will be done. And given the fact that they have some back pay to get anyways, a lot of these will be balanced off. So it's not a concern that will affect them in a grave way. You know, they did get overpaid in some cases, and the responsible thing for us to do is to tell them you got overpaid, and at some point you have to recover it. That's just normal when it comes to government.
This evening, the Ministry of Education issued a lengthy statement in respect of a parcel of land in Corozal Town where it intends to build a preschool. The land in question, according to the Belize National Teachers Union, has been with them for some time, and they are prepared to fight to keep the land. A few days ago, signage was placed on the land indicating that the land has been secured for the purpose of a preschool by the ministry. So the Corozal branch of the BNTU kicked into full gear and has been mobilizing. The ministry says that the construction of the preschool is part of its program to expand access to early education through a loan with the Caribbean Development Bank. It says it did its due diligence to meet the requirements of the CDB loan, and that at a meeting with the BNTU a few days ago, it became clear that the union does not have lease or a title for the land, but has been paying taxes to the Corozal Town Council and maintaining the land for years. The militant BNTU, however, claims the land, so we keep following the story to see how the impasse will be resolved. Coming up, a string of robberies has residents on edge in Secaucus, while an officer is placed on interdiction after he is caught on camera attacking a Belize City resident. Commissioner Chester Williams met with residents of Secaucus on Wednesday night at a public meeting to discuss safety and security in the village. As we reported, villagers were frustrated and angry that a number of homes have been targeted in the past week. They reported that the bandits have been taking advantage of the fact that the police substation is not properly manned. Well, at last night's meeting, they discussed all these issues with the Compol and his team. Reporter Andrea Polanco tells us more about the outcome of the meeting in the following story.
Commissioner Chester Williams and other police officials met with the San Jose Secaucus community on Wednesday night. The purpose of the meeting was to talk about the growing vehicle robberies and the presence of bandits, including Guatemalans, roaming in the village.
What we did last night was to have a community meeting in Secaucus where we heard from the villagers in terms of their concerns and recommendations, as well as for us to tell them what we're doing on the grounds and what we intend to do to be able to restore that sense of safety that they're accustomed to.
Motorcycles as well as a vehicle have been stolen from residents in Secaucus. They say that the thieves are coming and going as they please, oftentimes conducting surveillance at different properties before they steal. Some residents report that it may be crimes of opportunity, but they all agree that the police presence is weak in this growing community of more than 4,000 people. They told us that the police station is not always open and that there are few patrols. Commissioner Williams heard these complaints and responded with beefed-up police presence for the people of Secaucus.
One of the issues the people of Secaucus were complaining about was the fact that the police station here in Secaucus was not being manned or was undermanned, and I fully agree. Secaucus have expanded significantly, and so we need to ensure that we step up our level of policing by increasing our numbers to be able to meet the demands of the community. And so I have directed Ms. Hall that I want by tomorrow we have 4 police officers posted in Secaucus instead of 1. And by the end of next week we'll have a 5th officer. I've also said that when the recruits pass out in February of next year, I'll be giving an additional 4 police officers for Secaucus that will be separate from those who will be going to Benke. So again, we want to ensure that Secaucus have that complement of officers who can be able to do the patrols on their own without having to rely too much on patrols coming out of Benke, which might take some time to get here.
The meeting on Wednesday night has calmed many residents, but they remain on alert. The commissioner's presence in the village comes after citizens had to arm themselves to chase out a stranger they believed was up to no good in the village. Commissioner Williams applauds the villagers' actions, but he wants to restore security in a peaceful and lawful way, working along with the people of Secaucus.
Yes, the people were concerned and they decided that they are going to do what they can to protect their community, and I welcome that. And I wish that we'll have more communities like Secaucus where when people see criminality, they decide to stand together and fight against criminality. And then what we the police need to do now is to stand with them to show that sense of support. I have also suggested to them that what we can do is to have some of them become volunteer special constable where they can patrol alongside the police. Some can also join the COPS program. So there are different initiatives that we put out to them last night that we want to ensure that we build that relationship, that sense that they want, so that we can work together towards achieving the peace that they so rightly deserve. The people of Secaucus I find to be very courageous. They're very resilient people. And like I said, I wish we have more people like them across the country.
Commissioner Williams is hosting a similar public meeting in Benque Viejo tonight. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
An internal investigation is underway into the brutal beatdown of Anthony Tillett at the hands of police officers. Tillett was purchasing at a store on Farbers Road, not too far from his house in the city, when he was approached by officers attached to the Special Patrol Unit. He thought it was a routine stop and search, but unexpectedly, one of the officers attacked Tillett and placed him in a chokehold in front of witnesses. The incident was captured by the store's security camera and circulated on social media, prompting massive backlash against the department by members of the public who are calling on Commissioner of Police Chester Williams to deal with the officers appropriately. Williams told the press today that the attacking officer has been placed on interdiction.
I did saw that video and I will say it is very disturbing, and I have given instructions to professional standard bench to move expeditiously with that matter. I know the officer has been placed on disciplinary charge and will be interdicted from duty. The virtual complainant, Mr. Tillett, do not wish to proceed with criminal charges against the officer, so we'll only proceed internally against him. And whenever that matter is disposed of by the tribunal, we see where it goes from there. We believe in doing what needs to be done to maintain the integrity of our department. As a department, we try as best as we can to work with the public. And we cannot be seen to be abusing or beating the public that we are asking to work with us. And so whenever our officers step out of line, then it is our duty to ensure that they are dealt with. And I believe that under my administration, we have shown that we are not afraid to deal with our own when the time presents itself.
Is it only one officer that has been placed in interdiction?
In respect of that matter, yes, he was the aggressor in that case. The other officers, yes, they may have been around and may have provided some level of support, but they did not act in a manner as this officer did, and so he's the one who is being dealt with.
Sir, can you assure the public that unbiased investigation will be continued in terms of the Tillett case? Because they say, police officers look out for each other.
I don't go by what people say. I go by what I know we do. And it doesn't serve us any well to condone the illegal or ill-disciplined act of our officers. If we condone it, then the entire department is worth nothing.
Well-known Corporal Darrell Tootsie Usher of Belize City has withdrawn his challenge regarding his transfer. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams directed the transfer of Usher from the Hatterville substation to the Stann Creek Police Formation with effect from October 3rd this year. Usher sought the legal services of attorney Anthony Sylvester, who presented the case before the courts earlier this week. But now Williams says that the controversial cop withdrew his challenge because he had no chance of it being successful.
I guess you have been told that he have withdrew the matter. Again, as the Commissioner of Police, I know I have to make tough decisions, and so long as I know that decisions I am making are within the confines of the law, I fear no one who wants to take me to court. The Police Act is clear. The Constitution is clear that the Commissioner of Police have full superintendence of the police department. And the Police Act gives me the authority to transfer police officers where I believe it is reasonable. All I need to do is ensure that when I exercise the powers given to me by the Police Act, that I do so reasonably. And I try as best as I can to be as reasonable as I can with dealing with my officers. So Mr. Usher had been in Belize City, in the Belize district, almost his entire career. So to transfer him to Dangriga after being in Belize City for 15 or 16 years, that is more than reasonable. So at the end of the day, they went to court and they withdrew the matter. I guess they saw that they had no chance of winning it, and so they withdrew.
Armed thieves believed to be residents of the St. Martin's area of Belize City are said to be operating in a ring that has been involved in a number of aggravated burglaries in the Balama Phase 1 community. On Monday afternoon, a pair of armed men entered a home on Samuel Street where they encountered a maintenance man, a housekeeper, and a 17-year-old minor. The masked men then bound both female occupants before ransacking the property. Upon exiting the house, they came face to face with Carballo, who he too was tied up before they made good their escape. This morning, Superintendent Alejandro Coa fielded a few questions on the incident.
On Monday, the 9th of December, at about 2:30, police were called to Samuel Haynes Street in the Balama Phase 1 area, where they spoke to a female who was also in the company of 3 other persons. They reported to the police that whilst they were inside of the house, 2 male persons entered the building. One of them was armed with a firearm, and as a result, all of them were tied up and taken to a room. Thereafter, the room was ransacked, and stolen was an amount of cash, jewelry, and liquor from the said house. Police, as a result, conducted an investigation, and they conducted a search across the river that leads to the Martins area, where they recovered some liquor and other small items that were reported in that burglary.
Is it believed that the perpetrators of this crime used the river as a way to transit to where the victims were asleep?
Yes, we do believe that they used the river to come from the side of the Martins area into the Balama area, and they went back the same way.
So is there any suggestion that maybe these culprits had prior information that valuables were at this house?
That is something that we are looking at, information that we had received earlier, and that we are working on that likewise.
Were there any shots fired, sir, from some vigilant neighbor?
Yes, we were told that while the guards were fleeing, a person that was on the nearby area fired a shot at them.
The most recent incident was preceded by a similar home invasion a week ago on the same street, leading investigators to believe that a band of thieves may be targeting homes in that area.
Yes, it occurred on the same Samuel Haynes Street, but at different residents. We believe that it is people from the other side of the river that are targeting these houses. Sometimes they are left abandoned. I mean, not abandoned, but alone when people go to work, or sometimes it is only one person. In most cases, it's the maid that is working at the house when these incidents do occur.
So is that believe that it's the same players?
Probably we are looking at it is same ring of person that we have been pursuing from a good while. That those are the ones that are involved in that area committing this crime.
So have you been able to determine any suspects?
Yes, we are looking for 2 persons at this time.
Ironically, the Balama police station is not too far away from where these crimes are being committed. There's much more news after the break, so stay tuned. It's been 1 year since 22-year-old Anisha Young vanished without a trace. Her family has given up hope that she's alive and has been doing all they can to get closure. Earlier this week, the family shared their discontent with the police department regarding the progress of the case. They said that samples were sent overseas for DNA testing without their approval. They blamed the department, but Commissioner of Police Chester Williams says it is the National Forensic Service that carries out such process.
I do not know about that matter, so I cannot really comment about it. It is not the police department who sends DNA abroad. That is done by the National Forensic Service. But as usual, everything is the police. And we have no issue with it. It's the way how things work at times.
In recent weeks, there have been a number of persons reported missing. Some of those men, the likes of Elito Pook, Michael Kobo, and Jaswan Brooks, have been found murdered, and others, including Densmore Bowman and Devon Lopez, still haven't been found. Today, Commissioner Williams was asked about this growing trend of missing persons turning up dead. He says persons who are being threatened shouldn't take those threats lightly.
You all know that there is always ongoing feuds between rivaling groups, maybe gangs, or in some cases not gang, but persons who have issue with each other. And that may result in persons being kidnapped, taken somewhere and killed. And these are things that we need to look after. But one of the most salient things that we found in these investigations is the fact that the persons, when they do go missing, the family then say to us that they were being threatened for some time, but nothing was said to the police. No one comes to the police. So we are never aware of the fact that these persons were being threatened until when they disappeared and are found dead. And so we want to appeal to the public that if it is that you are being threatened by anybody, do not take the threats lightly. Come to the police, report it to us. Even if you don't want any court action, you can make a future reference report, and with that, we'll be able to approach the person or persons who are threatening you and try to see what we can do to intervene to prevent anything from going further.
A fisherman charged with illegal fishing took a guilty plea in court today. Diogenes Gomez was caught fishing in a forbidden area and will have to pay a hefty fine of $4,000 for his infractions. Gomez was arraigned before Senior Magistrate Tricia Pitts Anderson, where he was charged with illegal entry into a natural monument and illegal fishing in a natural monument. At the arraignment, Gomez pleaded guilty to both charges and was ordered to pay $2,000 each for the offenses. The first payment of $2,000 must be paid by April 13, 2020, or in default, 3 months imprisonment. The second payment of $2,000 must be made by June 15, 2020, or in default, 3 months imprisonment. A driver for Pizza Express, Orlando Salazar, was arraigned on a charge of robbery before Senior Magistrate Tricia Pitts Anderson. He pleaded not guilty and was offered bail in the sum of $5,000 plus one surety. Conditions were imposed to his bail. He is not to contact the complainant or any other witnesses in the case, and he's not to be within 100 yards of the complainant. On December 1, 2019, it is alleged that Salazar attempted to rob Javier Marroquin. The case was adjourned to February 13, 2020. When we come back, the BFF expresses disappointment that the use of gill nets will continue. One more item on the crime blotter. A trio of delivery men was held at gunpoint on Wednesday morning as they were delivering Big H products at a shop on LaCroix Boulevard. Two men on motorcycles appeared on the scene and proceeded to rob them of $1,000 as well as their cell phones. The robbers then fled the scene, making good their escape.
Yesterday at about 11:20, a delivery truck belonging to Big H were doing a delivery in LaCroix Boulevard when they were held up by two male persons who came on board of a motorcycle. The driver and two other assistants to the driver were held up, and stolen from them was about $1,000 in cash and cell phones. Thereafter, the person made good their escape in the area.
The decision by the government not to ban the use of gill nets is being defended by Minister John Saldivar. In a social media post on his page, Saldivar writes that there is general consensus that there should be a ban on the use of gill nets, and it is shared by a majority in cabinet. According to Saldivar, the challenge is that there are over 86 fisher folks and their families who depend on gill nets for their livelihoods, who cannot be deprived of their livelihoods. Saldivar points out that these fisher folks need time and resources to transition. And in reference to the Oceana funding, $2 million is not enough to help with loss of income, to retrain, teach new skills, purchase new equipment, and start up new businesses to create a new way of earning a living. He adds the phased implementation approach will see gill nets eventually being banned, which will allow the existing holders of gill net licenses to transition smoothly to other means of livelihood or eventually retire from fishing. In respect of the decision that no new gill net licenses will be issued, he explains that when the current 86 fishermen stop using gill nets, there will be no more gill net fishing in Belize, and this should be hailed by environmentalists as a half full instead of a half empty glass. But the Belize Federation of Fishers is the latest organization to come out against government's decision, despite a concerted effort by several stakeholder groups that were lobbying for a ban of the destructive fishing gear. On Sunday, the BFF held an emergency meeting with its membership. Concerns were expressed by a number of fishermen in attendance that the proposed changes put forward by the Ministry of Fisheries do not go far enough and that the enforcement measures taken will not be effective. This afternoon, News 5 spoke with Nigel Martinez, the Federation's Executive Director.
The Federation received the correspondence stating that the government wants to continue the use of gill net in our waters. Our position from the onset has been that we want to see a phase-out banning of the gill net. And for that, we have partnered with several organizations that form a coalition. Our approach to this was very strategic from the onset because we wanted to ensure that those licensed gill net fishers would be benefiting in some way, because we understand that majority of them do not full-time survive off the use of gill net, but from a standpoint their livelihood of using the gear, they depend on it. So our approach, when we receive that correspondent, we had an emergency meeting because we felt that we needed to outline our position. The press release from the government is very open-ended. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we have been receiving significant complaints from our members as to which direction this is going to go. From our perspective, we understand and we can clearly see that at the end of the day, the government really wants to see the gear ban. But how we get there, that is the situation. That's the mechanism we have to work out. And that is where the differences of opinion right now is at. However, we are clear that we have requested, we're asking for certain measures to be in place so that those funds can be released. We are saying that there's $2 million right now. We have fisher folks who want to benefit from that $2 million, and we are asking the government to work with us in order for us to iron out the mechanism as to how we can reach to a phase-out ban and access that $2 million.
There was a high-level visit by representatives of the International Development Bank this week. Vice President Alexandra Miera de Rosa, accompanied by Country Representative Cassandra Rogers, met with top government officials and private sector representatives. The discussions were on strengthening of the bank's partnership and cooperation with the public and private sector to ensure sustainable development. The IDB team met with Prime Minister Barrow and other officials, including Financial Secretary Joseph Waite and Elvira Mendez, Belize's representative on the IDB Board of Directors. The visiting team also met with Governor of the Central Bank, Joy Grant, where discussions were centered on macroeconomic and fiscal conditions. The IDB's VP also signed 2 technical cooperation agreements with Yashe Conservation Trust for the project Enhancing Conservation in Belize's Protected Areas through Disruptive Technologies, and with the Development Finance Corporation for the project Green Finance for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, amounting to $1.8 million Belize dollars. There was also a visit to an IDB project, a sanitary landfill at Mile 24 on the George Price Highway. Coming up after the break, a celebration at the youth hostel to bring in the Christmas season. Every year, the DFC spreads cheer for the Christmas season, and today the Belize City branch office went to the youth hostel to spread some good tidings. They provided lunch and other treats for the youths. They also left books and other gifts. Reporter Andrea Polanco files the following report.
The residents at the Youth Hostel kicked off their holiday season today with the Development Finance Corporation. The DFC treated the youth to lunch, fun activities, and gifts.
We are here to share our corporate social responsibility, and we were charged with the task of making an impact into society. So we have decided to come to the Belize Youth Hostel, and we're just having a little Christmas cheer. You can see that we have made a difference and an impact in their lives because we believe that they need love as well. And we are here to offer that little bit of hope to them, especially during this time.
The DFC also left a permanent physical mark at the youth hostel. They created a cozy reading corner for the youth. They also gifted them with baskets of supplies.
We spoke to the director and he informed us that they're trying to promote reading. So we sponsored a reading corner. The gift hamper is the necessities. We know that the youth hostel is always in need. They cater to both male and female, and we want to make it a little bit more comfortable for them. So we provided cleaning products, sanitary products, food items, and we're also providing reading items because we want to inspire them as well to read, to believe, and to keep on dreaming big.
Palacio says that the DFC is undertaking a number of charitable initiatives for the holidays. This event at the youth hostel is organized by the staff of the Belize City branch office. She encourages other organizations to spread more cheer this holiday season.
We were in full force dishing out the meals. We created our reading corner. And even before coming here today, everyone was excited and eager to come out here. I would just like to charge any other corporation to adapt a place like the youth hostel. The hostel has so much to offer. Today we spoke to some of the staff and they were like, man, it's rare when we hear someone actually coming to the hostel. So make this something on your resolution list for 2020. Come out into society, share the love and the support to those who need it.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Up next, Healthy Living looks at a serious problem in children. Obesity is listed as a chronic illness. Genetics, poor diet, sedentary lifestyle all contribute to being overweight and obese. But obesity can also lead to common diseases: diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and even cancer. Some have heard the warnings and are responding by living a healthier lifestyle. But what about our children? In tonight's Healthy Living, we dive into the issue of childhood obesity and what we're doing to fight it. It has been a growing health concern for over a decade, one that across the world has become a priority. Perhaps you haven't noticed, and if you have, it often feels impolite to say. But the facts and statistics are clear. We have a problem with obesity. Even more concerning is it has started to affect our children.
Being overweight, it affects me in a lot of ways.
We're getting sicker at a much younger age. Then it tells you why we need to address childhood obesity.
Heart disease, strokes, hypertension, diabetes, all of it is waiting down the road. And it's all preventable.
Avoiding a future population burdened by chronic illnesses and their complications is what has driven the global attention on childhood obesity.
It has become a health priority for all the countries. Over the last decade, there have been multiple and consecutive meetings at the World Health Assembly where NCDs, including obesity in children, is on the agenda, on the forefront.
This includes health authorities in Belize. Dr. Jorge Polanco is the non-communicable disease focal point for PAHO in Belize.
Recently, and there has been some cohort studies whereby they have found that the higher the consumption of ultra-processed foods by children, pre-age children up to age 8, it is linked directly with cardiovascular diseases with them as young adults. So the evidence is there. We could classify two fundamental contributing factors: the type of diet, the type of food, which is unhealthy food, which is food loaded with excess sugars, excess salts, excess unhealthy fats, and the issue of a significant rate of being physically inactive. In other words, not being physically active.
According to pediatrician Dr. Cecilia Eck, he already sees the effects of poor diet and inactivity in the healthcare system.
We get referrals to the public hospital with obese kids who come in with diabetes, early onset diabetes, and again preventable. And when you see it, you shake your head and you say, oh.
You're talking type 2 diabetes?
Type 2 diabetes, early onset. The earliest I've seen in Belize is a 8-9-year-old.
Recent studies have shown that in Belize, like the Caribbean, 1 in every 3 children between the ages of 5 to 19 are either overweight or obese. Even more alarming is that 67% of children between ages 13 to 15 reported that they drink 1 or more carbonated sugar-sweetened beverage every day in the last 30 days at the time of the study. Keep in mind that just 1 serving of a sugar-sweetened drink already exceeds the maximum sugar intake for children. Then, 79% of children between the ages of 11 to 17 reported less than 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity daily. These numbers are similar in other countries around the world, and so they've moved to create preventative policies and legislations.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience globally, and the first one that comes to my mind is the issue of taxes on healthy food and drinks. There is evidence, documented research, whereby the consumption of unhealthy food decreases in proportion to the increase in taxes. So that has been proven.
Polanco cites the example of Mexico, where since the introduction of additional taxes to sugar-sweetened beverages 5 years ago, they've recorded a decrease in consumption of sweetened drinks and an increase in water consumption. In September 2019, the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, the HCC, a network of civil societies from across the region, issued a call for urgent action to accelerate nutrition policies for the creation of a healthy environment for Caribbean children. Speaker of the House, Madame Laura Tucker Longsword, is a director for the HCC. The urgent call focuses on 3 areas: mandatory front package labeling, banning the sale of sweet beverages in school settings, and the taxation of sweet beverages.
So
Belize has not been able to tackle any of these.
Well, Yes and no, not the taxation. We have not looked at taxation. Taxation is going to be a highly political issue, and I think that the politicians will probably tackle that, the last thing they tackle. But what we have begun to work on is a front labeling issue.
It's an initiative led by the Ministers of Health whereby they have mandated to begin finding ways to label the food in such a way that consumers would be informed as to what food is healthy and what food is unhealthy.
I have to say that the Ministry of Health recently, as a policy, looked at banning sugar-sweetened drinks in the schools. I have to say that we've been working very closely with the BCS, the Black Cancer Society, the Belize Parliamentary Front has been working extremely closely with Ministry of Education, and we're all on the same page.
Some schools have instituted policies encouraging parents to send children to school with healthy snacks. But how do you curb a child's appetite for unhealthy food when it's literally available on every curb?
It comes with a lot of community involvement, because if you have a vendor around the school, and we have looked at those things at the Cancer Society, we've even had some training for our vendors. But if you have vendors around the school, it's not about saying, oh no, you can't make money. It is about telling you, look, this is what we're doing. You need to make the switch so that the children can still buy their snacks from you.
One of the global strategies is to look at leadership. And what that means is that at the highest level, at the highest political level, there should be that political will to move in this direction. We have the experience of many prime ministers in the Caribbean who have moved forward in increasing taxes, in banning sugar-sweetened beverages in schools. So it's nothing new. And I must say, giving credit to the Ministry of Education, over the last 2 years, that has been a topic at almost every forum, to make spaces and to enable the schools to have healthy food and finding ways to reduce the exposure of unhealthy food. But I must repeat, there is a need for policy support. I will mention Costa Rica as an example. They are not allowed to have unhealthy food, street vendors, not even the signs, a billboard, for example, around a radius of 2 blocks from any private or public school. That's a law.
While the conversations continue about banning unhealthy food and drinks in and around schools, the Front Label Initiative progresses. And despite the global evidence, the taxation of sweet beverages remains on the back burner. The consensus is, though, that whether through public awareness, policies, or legislation, we as a nation must prioritize the fight against childhood obesity.
We did not start 15 years or so ago when we should have, and now we are paying the price. So we've got to start now. We'll save their life if we start that now.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, good night.